two A-list stars come together as sparring partners in a new wedding comedy on Amazon Prime. Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon star in You're Cordially Invited. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for You're Cordially Invited. This is streaming now on Amazon Prime. It features Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon and a whole host of other people that you will certainly recognize. And we'll talk about this here in just a second. But first, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a Dan Reviews It subscriber already, thank you so much for that. Love having you return to check out my videos. But if you're not one of my subscribers, please consider clicking that subscribe button and the notification bell. Or you could just like this video, comment below, or share it on your socials. That stuff, of course, helps the channel out as well. All right, so this is a new Amazon Prime film, and Will Ferrell, obviously, no stranger to the zany comedy, and that's sort of what this is. I wouldn't necessarily call this a rom-com, although it has a lot of similar, I guess, themes as a rom-com might. But I would call this more of a zany comedy, a wacky R-rated comedy, that sort of thing. And this was directed by Nicholas Stoller, who is no stranger to that sort of arena. He's worked a lot with the Judd Apatow crew, including having, either directing or writing credits on things like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Get Him to the Greek, the Neighbors movies, Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Definitely sort of in that universe. In fact, he's worked with Jason Segel a few times, not only Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but he had a hand in, I think, co-writing both of those Muppet reboots. The first one that Jason Segel starred in, and Muppets Most Wanted as well. So he's definitely knows his way around a comedy. R-rated comedy, yes, I think we check those boxes too with things like Neighbors and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. While this movie, though, I think suffers a little bit in that area, the humor department. Certainly, its stars are game and work well together. But before we even get to the sort of review portion, let me tell you a little bit about the plot of this movie. So you've got Jim, who is Will Ferrell's character. He is a single father, a very over-attentive single father who learns that his daughter, Jenny, is about to get married, played by Geraldine Viswanathan, and she was recently in Drive Away Dolls. She's been in a number of recent things. And then you have Reese Witherspoon, who's portraying Margot, who is a wedding planner and just a career gal. But she is just the wedding planner for her sister's wedding. By career, she is the producer of reality TV shows, such as the... is it the Masked? It's like a Masked Singer ripoff. I forget what they call it in this movie, but so she sort of produces those sort of things. And there's a show that they show a little clip of called "Is It Dead?", where contestants have to figure out if an animal is dead or alive, and they get money, I guess, based on if they're right. And it's sort of poking fun at all of those ridiculous Wednesday night Fox reality shows like I Can See Your Voice and all of that. But they cross paths when they end up accidentally booking the same date, the same weekend, really, at this very lush resort. And they both have their own sort of history with this property and, why they want to both have their wedding there. And we learn that as we go along. But it is such an exclusive place and a solitary, closed off area that they can only really house enough for one wedding per weekend. So Jim calls up for his daughter, and unfortunately, unbeknownst to him, the woman that takes his wedding order dies before she can really get it down in the book. And so her son, played by Jack McBrayer, takes over, and he does not see that Jim is already booked, so he books the wedding for Reese Witherspoon's sister, who is played by Meredith Hagner. And that's where we get the conflict. So the two of them sort of are there checking in at the same time. They're like, this is my weekend. No, this is my weekend. And the two decide, okay, let's play nice here and have a little bit of, a joint weekend. You can do this and I'll do this and you can be here and whatever. And it ends up being sort of a revenge comedy as the two butt heads as the weekend progresses, coming from two very, very, different families and different worlds. We have those clashes. But also featured in this, like I said, you'll know a lot of people. I mentioned Jack McBrayer already, but in minor roles, including Fortune Feimster, Bobby Moynihan, Nick Jonas, Peyton Manning even shows up for a moment as himself. So this is one of those comedies that you can just put on and really just kind of check out. Would this have been nice to see in a theater with people laughing out loud? Yes. Look, I always think a good comedy, can become more of a great comedy, more in that arena. If you are having a great time watching it and a room full of strangers laughing at the same thing, I think really kind of fills that niche. And a lot of these streaming comedies, especially Amazon, seems to have, I think, a lot of the ones that probably would have worked better on a big screen. I believe, or it might be Hulu that does the Vacation Friends movies with John Cena and Lil Rel. I forget if that's Amazon or Hulu, but anyway, regardless, that's a movie that is not really that great, but it has enough sort of funny moments that in a big theater with a crowd laughing, maybe you'd have a slightly different experience. This, I think, is along that same line. I think this might have played better with a crowd. As it is, just watching it, by yourself, like I did, yeah, I did get a few laughs. I will admit that. And I think people underappreciate Reese Witherspoon's adeptness at comedy. We saw it so often in the early 2000s when she was doing straight ahead rom-coms like Sweet Home Alabama, but also, Legally Blonde. I mean, it's sort of a rom-com, I guess, but there's a lot more at work there. And that's one of my favorite movies of all time. But she obviously came from the world of drama, before that, and things like Pleasantville, and even as a young girl, some of the movies she did as, a teenager. But she is very adept at comedy and playing off somebody like Will Ferrell, who can, I think, make anything a little funnier. Look, I don't love all of his movies. I'm certainly not a Will Ferrell stan per se. And in fact, a lot of his movies took a few viewings for me to even really appreciate. Like Step Brothers, the first time I saw that, I really thought it was stupid. But, subsequent airings on cable and whatever, and I get it. I think it's funny. But I think Ferrell is one of those people, and look, he's been a part of a lot of these recent Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary retrospectives. You just sort of enjoy his just silliness, and that is what is on display here. Yes, he is this doting father, but he really, like he does with a lot of his characters, takes it to the extremes, and that's sort of where the humor comes in. So look, this is not a great movie by any stretch. It is definitely in that average area, but I will say, for a streaming R-rated comedy, it does have, I think, by volume, more laughs than a lot of them do. There's a particularly funny physical scene with an alligator that we see about 2/3 of the way into the movie. And the two, Witherspoon and Ferrell play very well off each other. And I can't always say that, because while I do think Reese Witherspoon is underrated as a comedian, I do think it depends on her partner. Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn, for me, didn't really work. His style and hers didn't really mesh. But here, I think the chemistry is a bit better. So look, I will leave You're Cordially Invited with a slightly positive grade, and give it a C+. I certainly don't think it's as funny as it could have been. And if you're looking for a romance film, I think this one misses the mark there as well. It's coming out right around Valentine's Day. Maybe they were, hoping with that, but it is wedding themed, so it's still got that sort of love motif. But I think certainly there are better options for Valentine's Day, but I think you could do worse with this one as well. So that'll do it. You can check this out on Amazon, like I mentioned. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews, and I'll see you next time.